But anyway, Dr. Guest and Bob Watson are both present today.
Mr. Roberts, I do have one question for you, please, if you'll take that question. You mentioned potential for resegregation. Would you just give me a quick little lesson on what you mean by that, what the court said that?
Well, it is a return to the situation of racially identifiable schools. Instead of school, substitute school district. You have the school district. One of the big constitutional problems, and it will be very interesting to see what the Eighth Circuit said about it, because the case that Judge Dawson relied on, which was two separate United States Supreme Court decisions, they dealt with a political subdivision that was an individual school district. And they ruled on the pupil attendance policies within that political subdivision. All 9 justices agreed that if there had been a remedial use of race as a factor, a single factor, in either one of those political subdivisions, it would have been constitutional. All 9 justices agreed that there was no remedial purpose there. One never had any segregation, the other one had been declared unitary for some years. Now, here in the Malvern/Magna Code case, you have an inter-district choice proposition. It impacts a single subdivision. What is a single subdivision? The whole state of Arkansas. Is there a remedial problem with the vestiges of segregation from the legal segregation days still remaining in any part of Arkansas? Where are we now? What school district are we in? Of course there's still a remedial problem.
All right, Senator Hendren.
Yeah, just real quick, you mentioned intention. I guess what I would ask is this: if we put into legislation that there is no race provision, our intention would be clear, that we want the decision to be based on what the parents think is the best for the student. But you mentioned the concern that you had is the court's going to do what you call intention imputation, or that they're going to impugn from our action. And I guess what I would ask you, do you really think that the court or anybody here would believe that our intention of anyone in this committee is to do something with the intent of leading to segregation?
Yes, I do.
Well, I think that is a cheap shot. And to be honest with you, nobody here, in fact, I think that all of us would agree that none of us want to go to a segregated school system. That's not the intent, and I think for you to say that is a complete misunderstanding of what we're trying to do with school choice. It's not about separating blacks from whites or leading to a school system like it was decades ago. It's about trying to make a decision that is best for everybody without regard to race.
Don't dispute that. Yeah. The point is that it will have the result of creating racially identifiable schools.
But again, you didn't mention the result, you said intent. The court would take from this action that our intent is to do something that would lead to segregation. And again, I think that's going to be a hard lead for anyone reason to make, is that our intent sitting here today is to pass legislation with the intent of leading to a segregated education.
It doesn't require specific intent. That's wrong. If you pass a law knowing that it will have a particular result, you're presumed to have intended that result followed.
But the converse is also true. We pass a stipulation that says there will be a race provision in it. There's no questioning about our intent then. Is we are making it very clear that we want to do something based on race.
Prevent segregation.
Based on race.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the fundamental question we talked about last time is, I don't believe that this obligation that we have as a society to do things, which we should do, is when a school district decides where to locate a school, we should take actions that we can to minimize segregation issues. But I don't think that desire to lead to a system that doesn't have segregation trumps the ability for our students to get a quality education.
I don't either. You know, you've got your Act 227, I guess, which lets anybody leave a failing school.
Yes.
It just went into effect. That is, they ranked everybody out. You're a failing school district for 2 years. You go anywhere you want to, anytime, regardless of race or anything else. What perplexes me, Senator, and other people, is that not a remedy that will solve some of the problems that Mr. Askew alluded to, some of the problems that you people have alluded to, without putting a free and unrestricted system in place that would inarguably result in de facto segregation in a large part of the state? I mean, inarguably, like I said, the guys that know the most about it, anybody in the world, are sitting right behind me, and it will happen. I wish you would take it into consideration. I wish you would try to work out some solution to it that perhaps Mr. Askew and I could agree on that would pass Constitution.
We got another question, Senator Rapert. You understand?
I'll be whether you won the lawsuit.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
what would motivate you to make such an inflammatory statement of human character in this committee?
I don't intend to abuse the character of the community.
Yeah, you just did.
I am an integrationist because I believe that
So are we. And so why would you take this venue on this matter to impugn the character of this committee the way that you have?
all I've said is that you have before you a bill that will promote segregation in a particular area of the state. I don't see how I impugn your character by saying that. If you disagree that that's a fact, that's one thing. But if you agree that it's a fact, what have I said that impugns your character?
Well, sir, I just think too many times people too loosely throw that charge around, and it's wrong. And I can tell you that the testimony given by the lady just behind you to the left, and I forget her name, but she was very clear. What the parents of this state want is a quality education for their children. And I frankly am tired of seeing some of the actions taken that continue to inhibit the state of Arkansas to move forward. What you have done, and frankly what the courts have done, has not improved the quality of education in the state of Arkansas. Now, the matter of desegregation is one thing, and I'm glad that we have taken steps to make sure that we integrate our schools.
Led by Republicans.
But I can tell you that I take objection to what you've said. And I also will tell you, as I've just stated, it's very clear that the intervention of many of the people into the affairs of education in the state of Arkansas has not improved the quality of the education nor the performance for our students in many cases. And so I would just ask you in the future, and I know you argue for a living, but I would ask you to be careful to not impugn the character of the people on this committee, because we believe that we are doing the right thing and we are representing our constituents appropriately in this matter. And if you want to argue that the parents in the state of Arkansas do not have the, what I would call the superior right to have a choice on where their students attend school, and we can take that up at another time. That's all I have to say.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Roberts? If not, Mr. Roberts, thank you for your time. Do you have a question? Oh, his